Welcome to season 2 of the AusComX Show. You're me, Sizzle, and we're here with Lady Rattus as well, my new co-host. So, woo!
Woo! How you doing, Sizzle?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, look, I'm kicking on. It's fantastic. I'm ready for the first episode of season 2, and we've got a spectacular guest. From what I know.
Yes, we have Rob O'Connor. He wrote and drew this beauty here. This is the cover of number 1. So let's get on with the show and let's meet Rob.
Yay,
Welcome,
Rob!
Hey guys, how's it going?
Thanks.
Good. Hey, Rob. Welcome to the show. First off, hey, like kicking off season 2, you must be pumped.
Yeah, I'll call it pumped.
Hey, we're going to probably be a little bit unclunky today, so we're running off minimal sleep for me, and Sizzle being absolutely bonkers with all the stuff he does for the comics community. Let's just roll with it, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So we're obviously here with you. You've creator of Deathship Jenny. We're going to be talking about that and touching on some parts about your comic shortly. But before we jump into that, I want to just get to know you as a creator yourself. Maybe have a chat to us about yourself in your creative journey, how you got started. I know lots of people love hearing about, in particular, when you started picking up a pencil. So don't forget to mention that. But yeah, we'd love to hear a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my favorite topic, me. Okay. Oh, look, I've been drawing cartoons forever. When I was a kid, I just locked myself in my bedroom and just draw and draw and draw. Probably not really superheroes, probably more like political cartoons and caricatures and sort of stuff like that, and just any weird stuff that comes out of my head, as all good cartoonists would. And so when high school finished, I thought, oh, I'll go to art college and that'll be really cool. And it didn't work out well. I didn't get in, basically, because I went to I wasn't a serious artist for, like your fine arts groups or your illustrators and whatnot.
Which was a bit for that era, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was just showing them all my weird cartoons and didn't impress them all that much. So I became a primary school teacher. I know that's a bit of a leap.
Bit of 180.
Yeah. Little kids, it was great. I had a great time. I was the teacher who could draw, so I drew lots of cartoons for the kids and did all of that in amongst teaching all of the other things that you do in primary school, all the bits and pieces. But the art itch never left.
Never really does it?
No. So I thought, oh well, I'll just go off and set up that serious side. I'll do a whole heap of serious art. So I got ready. I did some really nice serious paintings and all of that sort of stuff, and came down to Queensland Art College and discovered there was an animation department. So I thought I'd check them out, and I brought in all of my stuff, and they looked at all of my lovely serious art and went, "Do you have any cartoons?" And after I stopped hitting my head against the desk, I went off for 2 straight weeks and just did nothing else but draw all day, and just created a folio of cartoons. And so I became an animator. I went through all of that. And eventually I got a job in the animation industry. It was a multimedia group, and I was doing animation for them that was educational. It was health stuff for kids, and it was sort of explaining parts of the body and how the digestive system works and all of that sort of stuff. So I became the artist who could teach, which
Links back to your teaching career as well. It's crazy.
and that's what happened. As the years went on, I was a Flash animator.
Yeah, cool.
I don't know.
I remember that.
I'm an animator as well. Yeah, Flash was my go-to.
And eventually, Flash died, of course.
Yeah.
So, and besides that, my role was becoming more and more the teaching side of things. So I decided to, after a long, hard think, just go back to doing art for fun again.
Yeah, nice.
So I started drawing cartoons. I did stuff for H2G2, which was the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy website.
Oh, cool.
This was all pre Facebook.
Yeah.
And I was just doing a weekly comic about life at home. There was an indie comic in the 90s or early 2000s called Sporadic that I also contributed to. And then I got involved with the AusComX group, Darren Close, and the AusComX Weekly Challenge. And that opened some huge floodgates and started to get to know a few people in the indie comics industry in Oz. And eventually that led down the path of Darren asking me to be the artist for one of the Killaroo Gang Wars stories.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, cool.
And so that was a big learning curve. Like it was like about 11 pages, but it was nothing like I'd ever done before. So that was pretty far out.
Working within someone else's parameters and script and stuff, it's a bit of a challenge sometimes.
It definitely is. But I needed it. I needed somebody else's script at that stage, just to sort of run with it. Then from there I went. Stuart Cook has a great comic called Dave Zombie Hunter, which I don't know how many people know it. It was basically think Shaun of the Dead, but with bogans.
All right, so we need Sizzle. We need him on the show, pretty much.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
And that was my first full. That's my first full comics issue, like 24 pages, the whole shebang.
Wow.
And that was again that was the next steep learning curve. And all the way through it, I'm going, drawing mutant kangaroos in biker gangs, that's really cool, but I don't know if that's what I'd do. And then, bogans fighting zombies, that's really cool, but I don't know if that's what I'd do. And so there was a voice inside me where, well, what would you do? And sort of gave myself my own slap down. And and yeah, Deathship Jenny was the result.
Amazing. So that obviously leads into my next question. Obviously, you've got Deathship Jenny. Fantastic read, by the way. I don't want to give too much away, but I can't refer it to this specific movie, which I said pre-show, because I think that might give away a little bit too much in terms of the story. But I definitely get like post-apocalyptic a little bit, but also Matrixy a little bit. I don't know. It's I'm really trying not to be specific with this movie. But anyway, it's a really well-rounded 4-issue comic.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Jenny and the story and like everything that you love about it, pretty much.
Okay. I had to prepare for this because I think I've created the worst comic in the world to give an elevator pitch for. There's no one sentence. The closest I've got, and I had to write it down because I was trying to think of how you describe
cue
it in
card.
one sentence. Yes,
Yep.
I'm using my cue card right now. Basically, the comic is about reality television, engineering, and Martians.
That's pretty spot on. That's kind
Yeah.
of what I was trying
And
to get to.
and that's kind of it. For the listeners who are probably very confused right now, the world it is post-apocalyptic, but it's the world we see in the comic book is a utopia. Basically, a revolution happened. We got rid of borders, we got rid of wars, we got rid of money, we cleaned up the environment, we moved all of our industry on the moon. Basically, you don't have to work if you don't want to, we want for nothing, basically. And the comic is set 200 years after that happened. But this was the topic, this was the thing that I was actually quite interested in doing. If you've gone through all of that and you've come out the other side, what's life like 200 years after an event like that? And basically, the satirist in me went, if we want for nothing, basically all of the things that we would complain about in life, like, war, taxes, all of those things, hunger's gone as well, and all of that sort of stuff. With all of the big things gone to complain about, we become obsessed with the little things. And it's a completely celebrity, reality television, engrossed culture. And I'm making this sound very theoretical, but it's not. It's really silly.
Well, some
everybody.
people are obsessed with celebrity and
Yeah.
reality TV, even in this day and age when we've got millions of problems. So it totally makes sense.
That's it. And I've sort of tried to amp that up. I tried to turn that to 11. Just the pop culture desire for everything. And so within that, Jenny is at a Cardassian level. In a world where everybody wants to be a celebrity, Jenny is a Cardassian level celebrity. She had a hit TV show when she was a kid called Deathship Jenny, where she played the main character. It finished, and her pushy B-grade celebrity parents have pushed her on, have tried to keep the gravy train going by putting her on every ad, every product known to humans. But the thing is, Jenny hates all of it. That's the thing. She hates it all. She thinks it's all fake and horrible and all of that. She has a secret desire to be an engineer. When in a world where everyone's, sort of after celebrity, she wants out. She's a really good engineer. She's been, and she's just graduated with honors from from studying, and she's just the whole story starts with her announcing to her parents that she wants to get out. But of course, it's not as easy as that when you're Cardassian level celebrity. So she thinks the best thing to do is to run away from home and help defend the Earth from the Martians. So in this world, Martians exist.
Cool.
And yeah, most of the story is her trying to run away and failing.
Like at the beginning of reading it, it was very, I've seen the story before in terms of the parents trying to control their children going against their parents, but it really does take its own turns and stuff later on. I thought it was really awesome. Like the ending is spot on And to fit it all into 4 issues, I think is fantastic. Like, it's a really well-rounded issue. I see it as a full, solid issue of like one story, which I think is really good. You've done it really well, and you illustrated and wrote this story as well, which is a big pat on the back. I couldn't do it myself.
Oh, thank you.
Did you find that challenging at all, in terms of not working in a collaborative team, which I've like in terms of a creator myself, I do like bouncing off other people, but working by yourself, did you find that it was fairly easy, or did you come against any roadblocks at all?
I didn't find it easy, but at the same time, I didn't work completely in a vacuum. I was endlessly showing people drafts and concepts, and hey, is this a good idea, or is this a good script? Would you read this story if I made it? And then even once we got past that, once the first issue was made, before it went out to print, again, leaning on comic book making friends and sort of going, hey, do you reckon this has got a shot? Should I keep going with this? You know, it was all of that sort of thing, and getting ideas, bouncing back and getting good feedback, and sort of fine-tuning that writing right up until the point where it was sent to Doug and the good people at Comic Books on Demand.
Yeah, cool. Do you like I know obviously it's better when it's created. Did you ever have that point, and a lot of people struggle with, like, is it ever going to be good enough to print? Or like, I know artists always go, I could do better, I could revise this, I could keep going back and changing anything. Did you have any of those moments where you're like, I'm not sure if it's ready or not? Or did you just get to a point
All
where like,
the
I
time.
have to print this?
All the time.
I think as any artist we kind of do.
And yeah, like you touched on, working in a vacuum is simultaneously good and terrifying. But yeah, it got through. It got through to the end, and it was really nice going off to places like Supernova afterwards, or it's not happening at the moment, but Tucon over in Toowoomba. They were doing it there, and it was really great meeting with people who'd read it and telling me what they thought, and just getting the feedback was really good. And that actually made going past issue 1 actually simultaneously, it was enough to get me going into issue 2 and beyond. But yeah, then it's sort of trying to keep up with the success of the first one, and making sure that the story rounded out. And yeah, it was a roller coaster.
Yeah, it's like an emotional. You kind of come out just gasping for air once you finally get something out in print. So kudos to that. You've done an awesome job.
Cheers.
Speaking of people when giving you feedback, Jenny is like a powerhouse female lead character. Did you find a lot of people resonate with that character and appreciate it? Like, I found it intriguing. I loved it.
Yeah, a bit. Sorry, I'm trying to think about that. That's a really good question.
Or just as like a character in general, like not that she's female or anything, but
I think I got far more feedback from her about her as a character in general.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of things that were not very typical. There's a lot of things not very typical about a main character with Jenny. So I think a lot of people tapped into that and have really enjoyed that. She's not particularly heroic or.
She felt relatable, which I think is super important. Like I could see parts of myself in her, and I'm sure other people do, just trying to either go against the grain or realize that what their parents sometimes obviously aren't thinking of the best for them, and stuff like. Not that particular. I love my parents. Just putting that out there. But this is a little question that I thought might be a little bit fun, just to learn about your characters a little bit more. If somebody hasn't read Deathship Jenny, if you could inherit a trait, whether it be physical, mental, personality-wise, whatever, what would it be and why?
The thing that I really liked most about Jenny was she was kind of focused and belligerent and never took things on face value. She always asked questions. Even when the world was at her feet and she was being, oh look, you've got all of this stuff now, and then, but no, she wouldn't take that on face value. She'd always sort of try and ask all the right questions, because I suppose part of the thing about being a celebrity all your life was the fact that people will blow smoke up you. And she's used to everybody being incredibly nice to her, but not very rarely were people being real to her. I keep saying being real, and she says that a lot all the way through, but that gets kind of flipped on its head as well. No spoilers.
So is that the kind of character that you like to write? Because I'm not a writer myself. I imagine, as an artist, I still imagine people or characters in general. What kind of character I like? I like women who not women. Characters who are strong, go against the grain type thing. Like, that's the kind of character that I like to put into stories, and obviously get a writer to write it for me because I'm ridiculously bad at it. But is Jenny sort of like an encompassment of what you loved in a character?
Yeah,
in terms
definitely.
Of what you like to go for?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was definitely, and especially since it was the first time I'd written a comic, I went, well, I want to write something that if I saw it on a comic shelf, that I'd take it off and have a look through and go, oh, this is pretty cool, and buy it myself.
Yeah. Well, that's why everyone needs to go buy it. That's why.
Yep.
So going back on, you mentioned that you worked with Darren on Killaroo, in specifically Gang Wars. I've worked with him as well, and I absolutely loved it. How did you find working with an iconic Aussie character that a lot of people already know, and is well established?
It was tricky, especially Darren's a hard taskmaster, especially in making sure that he's in a good way. Oh, definitely. Especially making sure the characters get right. And I've talked with other people regarding that, and they've all said they've gone through the same process. Something about Rufus's ears, a kangaroo's ears, are so very specific, and Darren has that great knack of knowing exactly what those ears should look like, for example, and try again, get those ears right. This is what they should look like.
Yeah.
And I'd go off and I'd draw some more and bring it back, and no, you haven't got them right yet. No, you've got to get. It's this sort of thing, and yeah, and I'm almost breaking my pencils, but I'm trying to get it right. And the feedback when you finally get them right is
yes, I did it.
I did it. Yes.
The good thing about it, like, I'm a sucker for understanding why you do specific things. So when I was learning about human anatomy and stuff like that, I need to figure out why certain joints go somewhere and why it moves that way and sits that way on the body and slumping and bending. But the good thing about Darren, he told me why the ears have to be a particular way, because like the construction of them is completely different to another animal.
Yeah.
I think that's really fascinating and super informative as well, and helps a creator, especially when you're handing over a character and explaining these certain things. I find it super helpful when drawing them. But it's the 100% the ears. Like, as soon as you point, like he points it out, then you're just like, yep, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, totally. There are other things in the story that I drew as well. That the brand of bike that
Mm.
Rufus was riding was very specific, and I had to do a lot of research into making sure I got that right too.
And did you find you learnt quite a lot through that process as well, like working for somebody else that does have a well-established character and an idea, and is quite thorough with their script and also their character models? Did you find that that elevated your work quite a lot?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And also just the whole. It was also my first real time at trying to draw a comic book story. So all of those things that you sort of learn instinctively, like from having read lots of comics, like panels and the placement of speech bubbles and all of those sorts of things. Yeah, it was more than just
Just drawing
getting
as well.
Rufus
just-
right. It was the whole shebang, and
Mm.
it was such a good experience and such a good learning curve.
Yeah, 100%. I got the same thing out of it, which was like forever in debt to that fella. So everyone's art is unique, obviously, touching on that, including yours. Do you have any notable influences that you look up to and reference when starting out to draw? I know you're talking about animation. Um, I love like Dean Yeagle and some old school animators from Disney. And they influence a lot of my work. Um, is there anyone in particular that's notable for you?
It depends on what style I'm drawing. When the Deathship Jenny kind of style, I always, from a comic book art point of view, I love artists like Bill Sienkiewicz, uh, Frank Miller and Klaus Janson when they were doing Daredevil, and then David Mazzucchelli a little bit later on. When I was doing Deathship, I was also looking heavily at the Hawkeye series that had David Archer. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I can never remember. AJA. That was really cool. And I was also looking a lot at Gail Simone's series, Black Magic. And I loved all of those. And I was definitely getting ideas from her stuff, and actually all of those people. Maybe not Bill, because only Bill can draw like Bill. No, but certainly getting a lot of cues on sort of how they laid out a panel, how they laid out a page. Yeah, just lots of influences like that.
Yeah.
If I'm just drawing on a day-to-day basis, not really thinking about drawing and just doodling on a page, I've been told that my style's very Hergé Tintin.
Hey, that's not too bad.
That's a good thing.
So just dots for eyes.
Yeah. I was going to
Because
say, given that you had the political comics in mind, and then also animation, which are quite similar, and then Frank Miller, like it's quite an eclectic mix. Do you find that it helps if you study different drawing styles to help bring yours to life a little bit more?
Oh, all the time. Especially when you've sort of got into the world of animation or basically the art world of working for different clients. You want to have a lot of different strings to your bow. And if they say, oh, we want to do it in the style of the opening credits to Casino Royale, then, hey, you've got to try and draw in that style. And so that was probably a lot of my learning ground, sort of doing that sort of artwork and trying to draw Mickey Mouse.
Being adaptable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Especially when you want to go into the as a career as an artist as well. I've always advocated to be open to learning new techniques and different styles, so that you are, as said, adaptable to many different occasions where a client will ask for a specific style or not. In regards to your personal style, what resonates the best with you? Is it the Tintin sort of look that you feel more comfortable with?
I'm definitely more comfortable with that. But I've been trying to train myself over the years to do the classic comic book style. But even then, it doesn't look a lot like it. Everybody's got their own technique and their own style, and I guess I have mine as well.
It's
But
kind of
yeah.
like a thumbprint almost for an artist, right? So I feel like owning that, and I don't know if it's the same for you, but if I'm drawing something and a particular client or whatever asks for me to do in a particular style, I still always find myself seeing my preference sneaking in still.
Yeah.
Which is good. You're always going to leave that thumbprint elsewhere, but can also like shoot you in the butt a little bit sometimes.
Yes. Actually,
So
the
yeah,
Tintin. Sorry to interrupt. I just suddenly realised the Tintin style that I say is my sort of default cartooning style. I used for a project that I didn't even mention in my list of things that I've done.
plug it.
I plug it. Okay. When I was sort of trying to work out what I was going to do as an artist, once sort of the art gigs were starting to leave my workplace, I decided I was going to challenge myself to write a year's worth of comic strips, just the sort of comic strips that you would have seen in a newspaper that you can't see anymore. We won't talk about that. That's
touchy subject.
That's a touchy subject. So I created. So there we go. I created LIFF.
Cool.
Which is basic, as you can probably see. It's.
We'll bring you up. Can you bring that up on the screen?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
That's okay. There we go.
Yeah, way different from that one. Yeah, your art style's like way more.
Yeah. So the pages, if I just open it up to a random one, as you can quickly see, it really is your classic newspaper strip style. And yeah, I was trying to challenge myself to do a new one every night and put it up on a blog website. So that was kind of fun. I managed to stop at 52 weeks. I didn't do it in a year though. I did it over 2 years. I had breaks. But it was basically me looking over the couch and watching my family and trying to figure out something funny that had happened that day and turning that into comic book form.
I think that that sort of style, that just sort of reminds me of Tom Tongue, is it? And he's like Mini Tom, like just I don't say it enough to him. I really enjoy his stuff popping up on my feed because it is relatable, and it's personal, and it's just quick and fun. So like that sort of style of work I really enjoy as well. So be keen to check
completely
out
agree. I love his stuff.
Yeah, really good. And I don't say enough to him that it's I love it, and I'm bummed I missed him out on Drink and Draw. He's been on a couple of times as well, so be keen to.
He was on the recent one, wasn't he, Sizzle?
Yeah,
he was on the recent one. That was his first one actually. So
sick.
But he's coming back.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
I'd be keen to see him some more, definitely. So talking about like Aussie creators and stuff like that, this show we're trying to promote obviously Aussie comics, the Aussie comic industry. Before I keep going ahead, if you guys have any questions for Rob, please send them through, and we will shoot them his way because we want to make sure that you guys get the most out of the show. As a Aussie creator yourself, what do you hope to see from the Australian comic industry in the future? Whether it's to provide for yourself or what you want to see happen with the publishing side of stuff? Is there anything that you want to see sort of, either get better or come to fruition?
It's a really hard one.
Mm.
I couldn't possibly think of how it could be fixed. I just really love to see the time. I've done a few Supernova style gigs now. I've probably done it like 4 or 5 times at Supernova and like 3 times at 2Con. I haven't done AusComX yet, but maybe one day. I find one a year's really good. And it sort of drains the social battery, and then you bring it back. I'm going to be doing it this year. Quick plug with Brad Pickerskill.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, Brad, we've had on Drink and Draw as well. Yep.
Yeah, he's been on the Drink and Draws lately. What I'd really like to see is more people slowing down in Artist Alley.
Oh God, yeah. I think that sort of like hits home with a lot of us.
That's the thing I want to see most.
I saw this really good. I hate to plug TikTok, but there's this really good TikTok where someone's like, "What it's like being in an artist alley," and it was like I was pumped to see it because I was like, I wonder if it's anything that relates to me. But it's people walking past me like, "Oh my God, that's so cool," and just keep walking.
Yeah.
You're like, can you at least stop, have a chat with me, have a look at my stuff?
Well, no, I've got to spend $80 to get a signature of that guy from that show at that time.
Yeah, that won't even care that I saw him. Yeah, cool.
But that's cool. I mean, the celebrities are what bring people there, and the cosplayers are great, and they've spent all of their money on their outfits, and they look absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and they're artists themselves as well, so their craft is, awesome.
That's it. I just love to see a bit more love in the Artist Alley section.
Well, and specifically as well is the fact that AusComX, there's a keyword comic, which is frustrating when they don't put enough emphasis on it. And then I've also find that they do not bring any international artists in at all anymore, which obviously understandable because we had COVID and stuff like that, but they're bringing in international celebrities now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, can you please bring focus back onto that? But
absolutely.
Totally understandable that people won't give you the time of day when you're trying to pitch to them just quickly, like a 10-second pitch of your story. And because it's not Marvel, DC, IDW, whatever, they just immediately go like, it's like the confidence is not there.
Even, I mean, and like I've said, Deathship Jenny is it's a hard one to elevate a pitch. But even when I was trying to sell a comic that I could elevate a pitch, like Dave Zombie Hunter was perfect, sort of like
keyword Zombie Hunter. Woo!
Yeah. And then if you need any more information, think Shaun of the Dead, but with bogans.
Yeah. And so it's relatable, right?
Yeah. Single sentence pitch. Fantastic. Still the same sort of reaction. So, and
but
I don't want to.
That's what I was trying to touch on before. When we started, I wanted to reference this particular movie for Deathship Jenny, but I feel like that would give too much away. And you don't, obviously, when you're trying to sell something, you're not trying to sell a spoiler, right? And it's a fine line.
That's it. And no spoilers for Jenny, but it's a story that has lots of reveals and lots of plot twists and stuff like that. And knowing them in advance isn't great.
Yeah.
It's a better experience if you don't know.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I don't even want to touch on it at all. So going specifically more about yourself and your place within the Aussie comic industry. What's your 5-year plan? Like, do you plan on doing more of Deathship Jenny? Are you thinking of like maybe doing a new series or contributing to other people's projects? What's on your radar?
Actually, I'm very much in flux on that one at the moment. I keep trying to think of a new Jenny story, and I've had the inklings. I've started to think of interesting things that could happen in a future issue, in future issues, and I'd really like to do that again. I'd like to explore that world, but I'm just as keen to try something new or start something new.
You kind of need that spark sometimes, right? Just something fresh. Yeah,
totally. And I'll be frank, the spark hasn't been good the last couple of years. It's
I think that's for everyone. We're too busy dealing with a demon flu.
This is very true. Musicians seem to, I mean, despite the music industry just
exploded,
having such hard times, the number of new albums coming out now because of COVID, the sort of we've been recording and writing all the way through those years. It's really nice to see so much music coming out lately. I'm hoping we'll see lots of comics too. But at the same time, during that time, no, there were no sparks for me. It was, yeah, they were times.
Well, I think people forget how emotionally invested you do get in projects, right?
Yeah.
People think it's just a lot of labor. You write a story, you draw it, you publish it, you send it out, whatever you do, a crowdfunding or whatever. There's a lot of hard work in terms of that. But in terms of the emotional investment that you put into a comic, it's your baby, right? Like you create this idea, this world, and you're putting your heart and soul into this. Like it's draining sometimes. And having to continue that on, and people just want to obviously love what you've done so far, and you just need to give more. Like you need to fill your cup sometimes and be able to wait for that before you can continue on that journey.
Yeah, I definitely, though, I've been very aware of all of that too, because of and a bit like I was saying before, that itch needs to be scratched. So I think whatever's happening is going to start happening next year. There's going to be the need to create starting big time, and
brewing.
It's brewing. So I think next year is going to be the start of new things. Whether it's a continuation of Jenny or something completely new, I'm not sure yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, awesome. So as a creator, writing and drawing, I'm sure you've learnt many golden nuggets of wisdom through your time. Is there anything that stands out to you that you would offer to other artists that are striving for knowledge and want to learn and excel them? Because I know there's like certain specific things that I've been told or taught that have stuck with me for ages. Is there anything that you always go back to that you just like, this is a very good piece of knowledge for me?
The one that's been sticking in my head lately, because I've been trying to live by it, but I've also been trying to give it to other people as well. The one that's been sticking in my head lately is, if you do nothing, nothing happens. And there's a lot of bits and pieces to that. It's sort of, doing nothing is kind of your safe zone. But at the same time, and you're not putting your neck out. You're not
taking a risk.
Yeah. But you're not creating anything. So it's the only way to move forward is by doing something. And sometimes I get a bit obsessive about that once something has started. Like at the moment, I'm doing Inktober, and I know that is going. If I don't create something every day, that's gonna weigh on me a bit. Once I start the project, I'm very driven to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
do you
it's
think
just
that
as easy to not doing it. It's just as easy to not do anything,
yeah,
and then sort of the month will go by, and you go, oh, well, nothing happened.
yeah, that brings me to a good little, I don't know, idea. Is social media in terms of like Inktober's fantastic. I love Inktober. I always give up like 2 weeks in because either I lose interest or life gets in the way or something like that. And I know the idea is to keep you consistent and going for it, but I always also feel an immense pressure from social media that I need to post something consistently.
Yeah, feeding the
Otherwise,
beast.
I'm gonna disappoint all these people that have been following me, and then they have been waiting for something from me for a while. And even now that I'm new to motherhood and stuff like that, I'm still trying to look after this fresh child, and I'm still in the back of my head going, I haven't posted anything, and I feel terrible about it. Do you
Mm.
feel that same sort of pressure in terms of not even like social media, but like showing people that you're doing work and that
Yeah,
you're letting other people down?
that feeding the beast thing is
Yeah.
very real. And I've used it for good, and it's been evil as well.
Yeah.
I've used it to get Deathship Jenny done, actually. That sort of, look, I've posted here, I've done the first page, and sort of everyone, there's some sort of reaction to it.
You're like, yes, I have to do
And
more. Yeah.
yeah, I've got to do more now, and that actually spurs me on to get it done, rather than sort of petering out and sort of going, oh, I'll just have a break, and then you find out that break goes for 6 months before you start up again. So I've used it for good. I've used it to fuel myself to get something done, but at the same time, there are things that are not necessarily your goals that you are just doing for fun. That pressure to get things done can sometimes really knock you for six.
Eats away at you, pretty much.
Mm.
Yeah. So in regards to, I'm going to go backtrack a little bit because there was a question that I just completely forgot about. With comic events, going back to that subject, is there anything in particular that you want, like other than the fact that the focus on comics a little bit more, is there anything that you would want to bring to the conventions, or like even like a suggestion to other people, whether they've done it or not, if they've gone into the conventions before? Like, is there something that you think that they should bring or try and promote that will help them, or try and direct the conventions to be what they should be, or prefer, like probably more preference to us? They're not what they should be, because cosplay and celebrities, they're obviously part of the whole package.
Yeah, and important
but
parts too. I'm not. I never want to sort of knock them at all, because I get a kick out of the celebrities being there. I get a kick out of.
I saw the Weasley twins and I was like, oh my god, they're real.
Totally.
It's real humans.
And you walk around the corner and there's John Jarrett, as he is. He always seems to be at every single con, and you just go, nice, g'day mate, good to see you again.
You want to look at Deathship Jenny? Go on.
It's really tricky, because I'm as guilty of it as many. A certain element of my stall at a comic sort of con is fan art. I will get out my pictures of Totoro, and I'll get out my pictures of whoever, sort of this superhero or that superhero, because that does, it slows the customers down, and sometimes they won't buy they won't buy your original stuff that you spent 9 months creating, but they'll buy the quick
$20 print
poster of
piece.
somebody else's property that you probably took an hour on. And so by doing so, you get to pay for the table.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is quite the investment for anyone who's ever sort of sat behind one of those tables. It's I wish that there was less of that.
And an oversaturation of it as well.
Yeah.
Like everyone has to do the same thing, right? And whatever's trending on social media or in pop culture in general, and that's the kind of print that you need to do, because you know that's what people are going to stop for. They're going to be like, oh my god, it's Loki. I love Loki. Like, I'm going to have a look. If okay, well, why are you here? Why don't you have a look at my comic? They're like, no, I'll just have a look at your Loki and then I'm going to go.
Exactly.
Like, okay.
And you sort of sit there counting the Deadpools as they walk past, and and you go, oh, maybe I should have a Deadpool up on the wall. Maybe I'll get a bit more. So yeah, I'd love to see, but it's not even. I suppose it's not even really that. There was one. I do remember the story of one time we were sitting at a table at Supernova, and it was a pretty big powerhouse of comic artists. I was sitting with Darren and I was sitting with Stuart Cook. I mean, so we were selling Killaroo and we were selling Dave Zombie Hunter, and we had a few other key people that, you know, sort of within the indie comics circles, you'd go, oh, these guys are great. They bring out great products and all of that sort of stuff. And right beside us, there was a guy that was selling wrestling masks that were themed to superheroes. That he'd obviously just got a big box of them, cheaply made from somewhere. And you'd have people walking past going, oh, Dave Zombie Hunter. That's it. Ooh, Avengers.
Yeah.
And and like I said, I'm as guilty of it as anybody, sort of having some fan art behind me and having people buying it. But maybe we need to do that less.
I think it's not going to go away, right? It's always going to be there. You're going to have to fight against it. I think coming up with a 5 to 10 second pitch for your stuff that's really going to engage people when they walk past, and just be like something's caught their eye at your table. So obviously you're doing something right already. 1, success. 2, you need to engage with them and really pull them in, which is tough for some people, because I know a lot of people don't know how to socially engage with their customers that are coming up to their table. So you need to really just pull them in and to be like, do you love a story about whatever? Like, for say we're talking about do you like crime noir with a little bit of mythology? Like, that's all you have to throw at them, and if that engages them enough, then you can pull them in and talk to them about it without hopefully being distracted by whatever's next door. That's fine if they get distracted by that. If that's what they're into, go for it. But obviously you really do need to sell yourself and know how to sell yourself, and I think that's really important with conventions.
Yes, but with with our audience, I've noticed it really is a fine line between being that person who goes, hey, do you want to get some really cool sci-fi? And sort of being
genuine.
Yeah, genuine, and also people who don't react very well to that sort of.
Yeah. You can tell really who's like not into it or not.
Shoegazers who are just a bit like us,
And there's
who are
nothing
just
wrong
sort
with
of
that.
wandering around going, "Oh, I just want to look at the comics, thanks."
Yeah.
So
If anything, it's all about like retail knowledge, right? And which is
Mhm.
hard if you've never done it before.
So one of the things that I like to do at cons is sit there and draw, and a lot like the sort of stuff I'm doing for Inktober at the moment. I've got this thing where I just got straight brown paper, and I've got this kind of style. I've got this thing. So
People love the craft
Nice.
paper with the white
Yeah.
popping. They really engages with them.
Exactly. So I find that it tends to attract people as well. The ones who don't want to talk or be talked to.
And if they're into it, they'll engage with you and be like,
Yeah,
"What is that?"
exactly.
And then you can talk to them. Opens that conversation.
Exactly. And then if and if you're really lucky, they'll say, "Oh, can you do a drawing for me?"
Yes.
Yes, I would really like to draw. I would really like to do a drawing for you.
For money. But yeah, that's a good point. Like the drawing, that's definitely worked for myself. For them for coming in and that engagement starts on their end, so they have ownership on that and they feel a little bit more comfortable talking to you. Good
And
point.
then while you're drawing, you sort of go, "Oh yeah, have a look at some of the comics I do."
Yeah, while I'm here, go on.
While you're here, sort of, and then they'll
Multitask.
pick it up. Then they'll pick it up and sort of go, "Oh, did you draw this?"
Oh no,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yes, this is
I
my
just bought
store.
it.
This
No,
is my store. I draw these things.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole that we'll go down.
That's
Look,
it.
so we're coming up to the end of the show. Obviously, we don't want to leave out any important information. So before we leave, Rob, can you please let us know where we can find your work, whether it's social media, Instagram, Facebook, and where we can buy your gear?
Okay. Well, I'm on the usual things. I'm on the Facebooks. Just look up Deathship Jenny. I'm on Insta, but that is Rob O'Connor _art.
Yep.
And those are my main places for putting up artwork and such, as well as my regular Facebook page.
Sweet. And also on ComX, right?
Yes. So selling.
Yeah.
I've got an account at Owner Indie. If just look that up. And yes, I thought I'd leave the best till last. As Sizzle will testify, we just got Deathship Jenny on comics. So
amazing.
Comics.shop, all 4 issues. Sorry, not 3.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I forgot to touch on the little advertisements that you have through the book. Friggin' smart, super smart.
Yeah, I love those.
So good. So
Cool.
before we completely round off the show, on your comics profile, which you can find other profiles of other artists on there, if you want to find out a little bit more about other artists, it says there that you are quite fond of the dad joke. Is there anything that you can throw our way just to put a little cherry on top of the interview?
Oh, that's. Oh, you got me on the spot now. Oh no. My favorite. I always had a soft spot for things going into the bar jokes.
Yeah.
Like a horse goes into a bar and the barman looks at him and goes, "Why the long face?" But my favorite one of those is a grasshopper jumps into a bar and the barman looks at him and says, "Hey, we got a drink named after you." He says, "What, Kevin?"
I'm sorry, that's actually funny. I'm gonna tell that one to Lockie to save in the bank for later. That was awesome. Well, thank you, Rob. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us all about Deathship Jenny. And if I would highly recommend anybody reading it. It was fantastic. I wouldn't say short and sweet, but nice and well rounded. 4 issue. I loved it. And And yeah, definitely check it out if you can through Comex or directly through Rob himself. But Rob, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it and super grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
It's been a
you very
pleasure.
much.
No problem. Sizzle, over to you to round off the show.
Yeah, well, thank you everyone for watching. Pretty much my little spiel at the end is remember to like the video,
Like it.
subscribe to the channel, because that's always helps us out. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to Lauren. Thank you very much for Rob for being on the show. And we've got one last comment. Oh, look at that. Awesome first show. Good stuff.
Thank you, Lee. No
Thank
problem.
you.
We'll
And
see you guys next week.
Yeah, see you next week.
Bye.
Good night, all. See ya.
Check out comex.cx for all things Comex and find out what Comex is all about. We hope you enjoyed the show.